Let's get started right now. We are, we can, we do. We can, we do, we are. You are, you can, you do. We are, we can, we do.
Very much. Hello, everyone. So basically, today we are here with Matthew Rawlings, who's digital capability lead for Natwest Group. We're here to discuss their initiative related to Ella, which is their everyday learning assistant which earned them their accolade as Team of the Year for the UK Customer Experience Awards last year. We can start with some introductions. Do you want to tell us a bit about the initiative, Matt?
Yeah, no problem. And thank you, David, and thanks for the opportunity to come along today. So Ella, and you'll probably hear me refer to her as she, as we continue our conversations because she is part of the team, was something that we introduced probably in the region of about 2 years ago. To really help support our colleagues. So Ella is a chatbot. She's designed to support our internal colleagues to have great conversations with our customers, providing information that they need as and when they need it, and in a simple, clear, and really easy way to access that information. In terms of how she's kind of grown over the last year or so, she's grown pretty big. To the stage where last year she answered in the region of around 50 million questions for our colleagues throughout various different environments. Now, clearly, I know we'll talk about how she's changed over the last 12 months and what difference Ella's made. But it is very much designed to have those great conversations. Clearly, as an organisation, we can't expect our colleagues to know everything. There's just too much. So if we can't expect them to know everything, what is it we can do to help them to find the information they need when they need it? Hence Ella.
So what was the actual pain point that you were trying to resolve? I mean, how did the conversation start about introducing something or someone like Ella?
Yeah, we started off, like most organisations, we had a repository of knowledge, whether that was knowledge bases, intranet type content, SharePoints, a raft of different bits of information readily available for our colleagues to try and find. I know when I joined the bank, which was a long time ago, we used to have business support manuals, which were paper, all in files, and you had to go and find the right file to find out what you needed. So things have moved on massively since then. I guess the pain point we had at the very beginning was, how do we actually provide that information quickly and easily, and in a way that's really easy to understand, and in a way that's in a language that our customers, importantly, would understand, to be able to share that content with them.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. And I would like to point out that Ella was introduced before COVID struck. So there was an initiative that started completely independently from having to work remotely. How has it evolved due to COVID? How has it changed, or has it changed because of COVID?
To be fair, I think for me, she hasn't changed a lot. To be fair, her importance has changed even more so. Because if you think now, and I think Deborah was talking about colleagues working from home, working in very different environments. So if you think about in a traditional branch environment, if you had a question, you could perhaps give your colleague next to you a little nudge and ask them if they knew the answer, or you'd pop to the interview room next door, or go and see your boss in some shape or form. Clearly, working from home, you don't have that. Invariably, you've got your kids running around, homeschooling, and you've got your dog barking at the postman in some shape or form. But what you haven't got is your colleagues sat next to you to be able to ask those questions. So what Ella became over the last 12 months is very much that colleague, that person that you could just ask a question to and get the answer that you needed to be able to have a great conversation with a customer.
So how has usage changed? I mean, do colleagues use it more? Do more colleagues use it? Is it changed the way they approach it?
We've seen over the last 12 months during the pandemic, some of the metrics we measure. So we measure engagements, which are the number of colleagues actually using Ella, and then we use another measure around interactions. So how many interactions are our colleagues actually having with Ella? What we saw in the early part of the pandemic was clearly the level of engagement reduce. But what that correlated to was actually the level of colleagues actually working. We have, a number of colleagues who are isolating, shielding. In some cases, were actually poorly with COVID-19. So we had a reduction in the number of colleagues actually in the business. But during that initial period, albeit the level of engagement, so the colleagues actually using Ella reduced, the number of questions being asked of Ella increased twofold. So we actually saw a load more questions being asked of Ella. Again, kind of what we expected, because you can't ask somebody sat next to you. So you needed to ask the question of somebody, and Ella became that somebody. So we saw engagements reduce, interactions increase. As time has progressed and we've perhaps settled down a little bit now with different ways of working and our colleagues coming back to the business, as we've progressed through the pandemic as a country. And what we've actually now seen is the number of engagements are now higher than what they were before the pandemic started. So we're now seeing more people use Ella than we're using Ella before, but actually the number of interactions through Ella has probably remained constant. What we kind of put that down to is a number of different things. So we worked really hard as a team, a very small team, to look at how we actually become very succinct with how we surface information for our colleagues. So one of our challenges over the last 12 months is actually to reduce the number of interactions with Ella. Because actually what we want to do is help colleagues find the information really quickly. So we don't want colleagues having to ask 2 questions or 3 questions to get to the answer of 1 question. So we worked really hard in the background and got much better as a team in terms of how we provide that information. Ella herself is doing a lot of work for us through machine learning. So she's being quite smart in terms of how she supports us with surfacing information for our colleagues as well. So the fact we've not seen an increase in interactions is something that we're quite pleased of. Because for me, it means actually we're doing our job right and we're getting the information to our colleagues quickly. And one thing, David, we're really proud of is actually at the moment we're running with a success rate of 98.2%, which basically means from when colleagues look for the answer to one of their questions, 98.2% of the time they're finding it. That said,
great result.
With the size of the numbers that we have, actually that 1.8% is still a big number. So our team and my team focuses very much on that 1.8%. We don't focus on the 98.2. We focus on the 1.8 to understand, okay, so what is it we're not answering? What is it we need to do? Is it fixes around search? Is it generally the content just isn't there? Is it how it's being asked for? We look after colleagues in the UK, we look after colleagues in India, etc., and around different parts of the globe. So, people have different ways of asking for information. So how do we make it work for all?
But, I think the matter with machine learning is that it kind of evolves by itself. That's the very nature of it. So good. Could it be just a matter of waiting and for Ella to become like more skilled in understanding like human interaction?
You could if you wanted to, I guess. As to how long we would take to get there, I don't know. But so to have that human side of it, I think is equally as important as the machine learning side of things. So actually within the back end of Ella herself, the level of data, and I'll confess that there is so much data. It's kind of how do you sift your way through the minefield that is of the data that's available to ensure that we're focusing on the right bits. So whatever we can do as humans to expedite Ella's learning and to improve that better proposition for our colleagues, which is our purpose and why we exist, then that's something we need to do. I think it'd be wrong of us just to sit and wait for Ella to figure it out by herself. She does a pretty cool job of figuring stuff out, but if we can help her along the way, then that's the right thing for us to do.
So, how do you think she's going to evolve, like over the next period of time, especially considering that we are supposed to coming out of lockdown at some point soon.
Yeah.
Do you think she will change? Do you think she will stay the same and become more relevant, less relevant? How do you see her role become
Um,
over the next like few years?
I think her role will continue to be hugely relevant, and probably, if I'm honest, more relevant in terms of how we do things. Because I think listening to Deborah talk around some of the initiatives and how they were working with colleagues continuing to work from home, that will be the case. We've got colleagues now looking after customers via video rather than face-to-face interactions. The feedback is fantastic. So we will continue to need to provide that ability for that just-in-time knowledge, learning for all of our colleagues. When we go back to the colleagues being based in a branch, and to be fair, we've been open throughout as an organisation. Our branches have been open throughout, different hours, different ways of working, social distancing, very challenging throughout. We have still had colleagues in branches. So the ability of Ella to be available, accessible via mobile for those guys that's in banking calls, but importantly for our colleagues working from home is paramount. And I think, will we ever change back from that? I don't know. I don't think so, if I'm honest with you. I think we will continue to have a blended approach of how we support our customers, whether that's remotely or face-to-face in a branch-based or telephony-based environment.
Okay, I understand. And how do you think, how did Ella impact actually the lives of your colleagues, like of your partners? How did it make a difference? I mean, do you think that it made a difference, like in the way your colleagues felt connected to each other during the pandemic?
I think, I don't think, if I'm honest, David, it helped colleagues feel connected to other colleagues, because they were connected with Ella. And if we class Ella as a colleague, then yes, but as a human colleague, probably not. No. But I think what she did do is she gave our colleagues the confidence that actually they would be able to have great conversations with customers, irrespective of where they were. They knew that actually at the tap of a button, they would be able to find the information they needed. We've evolved Ella over the last 12 months, so it displays more content-rich information. So there's, we've got things like interactive demos, videos, etc., that our colleagues can use to really help understand the conversation from our customer, to be able to help with what they're seeing, what they're feeling, etc., to be able to help them. I guess for me, the simple answer is, if I look at the feedback from our colleagues, and then work our way back to feedback from our senior leaders, it's been tremendous over the last 12 months in terms of what she's done. And I think it's honest to say that actually the amount of changes that our colleagues have seen within this period, changes to processes, changes to the way in which we support our customers. We've had mortgage holidays, loan holidays, credit card deferrals, all that kind of different things, supporting customers in very challenging situations. The speed which we've been able to update Ella to provide that information real time has been paramount. And we've done that through things like push notifications. So if things change, the first thing you see when you log into Ella is you'll get to see things that have changed and that are working for our colleagues as well.
And you think the learning that you've done, like developing and improving Ella, will it help you like implement something similar with AI and machine learning to actually help customers?
Yeah, we already have a customer version of a digital assistant. So we have Cora, which is our customer-facing chatbot, which is doing some great work with our customers. The Ella one is very much the internal colleague one, supporting our colleagues. Processes are different, so we try and keep the two of them separate if we can, just to make sure we're surfacing the right information to the right colleague. And they do actually work off slightly different technology bases as well.
Okay. And in terms of features that Ella might be able to acquire in the future, I mean, the actual capabilities of the software itself, do you think that it might become like an even more like present feature, like in branches once the branches open again, or like become, when footfall increases? Where do you see that going?
I think Ella will be there to be used. And as I said, I think David, you said Ella was available before lockdown, before the pandemic, and was being used tremendously across all of our colleagues, whether that was branch, contact centres, web chat functionalities, etc. So I don't think we'll see that bigger change in terms of how she's actually using our branches than what we saw before. I think the ability to surface information quickly will remain paramount for our colleagues to be able to use it. We know that our colleagues work in different ways now. If you walk into a branch, irrespective of what bank now, they look very different than what they did before in terms of layouts. It's more around collaboration spaces rather than perhaps interview rooms, etc., and traditional behind glass panels, etc. So I think having something that's accessible, that you can find the information you need as and when you need it, is vital for our colleagues. Okay.
Well, we're also having a couple of questions from the public. One of it we've partially already covered. So you think that Ella will not take over in terms of like customer facing roles? So you think that this will not help you to develop a new and improved way to communicate with customers as well?
I think, as I said, Ella's purpose is to look after our colleagues and to support our colleagues to have that human interaction with our customers, which is still vitally important. What we do in the background is we work really closely as a team with the other parts of the bank that look after our customer-facing digital assistants, just to make sure that we're sharing, understanding, and using technologies the best we can collectively.
Okay. And from Khalid Karim, we have, is Ella built in-house or is the bespoke software built by a third-party developer?
It's part of it's built by a partnership that we have with a third-party developer. To be fair, we've started this journey with them from moving from that knowledge-based internet-type search and find Q&A system to the chatbot functionality. So we've worked really closely with them to use their skill sets and their technology. The team that I look after, David, is we collectively come from a frontline branch or telephony based environment. So we're not a technical team as such. So we've kind of, everything we do walk in the shoes of our colleagues, because that's where we came from to a certain extent, to try and make sure we're doing the best thing we can for them.
Okay. And do you see AI becoming a more prominent feature in other projects in the future for Natwest?
Yeah, I think so. I think, if we look at, how can we start simplifying different things using technology that's available for us. I know within the Ella space, we're considering and looking at the potential for automation. So rather than Ella potentially telling somebody how to do something, what are the possibilities of Ella actually physically doing it for them? And so we're exploring that as potential opportunities as we move forward as well, to really simplify how we look after our customers and help our colleagues get things right.
Okay. Let me see if we have any more questions.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Matt. Thanks for joining us today.
No worries.
Automation and chatbots. Sometimes people get a bit worried about the fact, or they get hung up on, we're taking away people's jobs. But for me, this is a very progressive thing, because we can now deploy people doing other things which are more value added, and the mundane stuff like answering frequently asked questions can get replaced. Did you get any resistance to this internally within the bank?
In terms of Ella, I think, Naeem, it's slightly different, because Ella is, as I said, designed to support colleagues. So she was never designed to replace colleagues. That's fact. So she is very much an internal colleague tool to help them have those great human conversations. Now, if we can help our colleagues have the simple conversations really quickly, really easily, what it does actually help us to do is invest more time and be more available for customers when they really need us. and to be able to invest those times in, and, you know, I guess to coin the phrase, to be brilliant when it matters.
Thank you for that.
I think we have one last question from Khalid again. Is there any similarities with Sophia, the humanoid robot, the robot citizen? So I mean, if you're like aware of the story, I mean, she was the first robot to actually receive citizenship from a country, I think the Emirates or Saudi Arabia.
I'm aware of Sophia, if I'm honest with you, the humanoid side of thing, and I know we have, and we still look at as an organisation, not perhaps in the space where I'm in, how we can potentially use that sort of technology, again supporting at the outset colleagues' capabilities, but that's as far as that's gone at the moment for us.
So you don't think that in the near future we'll be seeing like android clerks in our branches?
Not in the near future, no. But it would be interesting to see what the world looks like in many years' time. But no, I think as a bank, there is definitely that place for a blend of digital technology and, importantly, humans.
Okay, thank you very much. We have one very last question from Neil, actually. How do you, in regards to Quora, so the AI that deals with customers directly, have you found resistance from customers that might be a bit old-fashioned and therefore they have issues with like kind of trust dealing with a machine rather than a human counterpart?
Not that I've seen, David and Neil. If I'm honest, I think, you know, as an organisation, we still have a very blended approach on how we look after our customers. So, you know, we still have contact centres, we still have our branch-based colleagues. So the human interaction for our customers that crave that is still very much available for them. You know, when we start thinking around the chatbot functionality, people choose to interact in that way through various different things. And I think over the past 12 months, we've all probably changed how we interact with organizations and embrace different things.
Okay, thank you very much.
One last question.
Are there any more? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
No, carry on, sorry.
No, go ahead with your question, it's fine.
Well, I'm going to delete Neil's question that he's a NatWest customer for 35 years. Neil, my dad's been a NatWest customer for 50 years, he keeps telling me. There's a question there for Mus. How does the strategy for digital approach move away from the bricks and mortar need for post-pandemic customer need? Interesting question.
I'm sure it's a great question, Naeem, but I didn't quite catch it.
Do you want to read it? Do you want to read it, David?
How does the strategy for digital approach move away from bricks and mortar need for post-pandemic customer need?
It's a great question, if I'm honest with you. I think, you know, we still have a need for our branches. We still have a need for that environment to be able to support our customers as and when that's what they see appropriate. I think digital will complement ourselves as an organization when we build, you know, we'll continue to build relationships with customers and, you know, and really drive our purpose of supporting our customers and help them thrive. You know, in terms of how we move away from bricks and mortar, to be fair, there's probably not a question for me to answer, if I'm honest.